Hello, everyone. My name is Jessie Bowen, and I am the host for the Become an Author podcast. And I love my job of interviewing individuals from around the world who have written, who have now published and marketed their books to become Amazon's best sellers. And this is really exciting. And today, I have a special guest on, and he's a superstar. He's a martial artist. He's a grand master in the martial arts. And he's really one of those people that he's a, military person. And, every time I talk to him, I see the military come out. Let's get her done. So, and that's what we do. We have Grand Master Brendan Wilson. Hey, sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. And how are you?
Hey, you know me, sir. I'm always better, and better, trying to make the world a better place. As we look at our podcast today, and the spotlight is on you for all the things that you have done over the past, I guess it's almost 2 years that you've done as a author. We had the delight to publish your second book, and you've just been going. You're that person that takes action. And what I really recommend for our clients who are publishing books is doing exactly what you're doing. Get over the ego that I've got a book out there, but now get into action, because that book, the value of it is about how many people you can get to read your book. So to publish the book, that's not a really big task, but now to get readers to the book, and your book is still, over a year, still up on Amazon's bestseller list. That's over a year, and your book is still moving forward, and you're still moving forward. And today, everyone, is really a big announcement. His book has now become an award recipient of the International Impact Award, which is a very prestigious award, and he's won several other awards this year. So, sir, what other book awards have you won or that you've received this year?
Well, thank you. First of all, Grandmaster Bowen, thank you for inviting me onto this this show. I really appreciate it. And I also wanted to thank you and your team for all the work that you've done to help make Warrior Goddess a success. A couple years ago, we were getting ready to publish the second book, and my wife said, "Isn't your martial arts organization, don't they have a publishing arm?" So we reached out to you, and then we did a conference call with you and Jessica Phillips, and you laid out what you could do for us. And I will say you did all of that, and in spades. And since we've joined up with you, the book has actually been a huge success. This beautiful cover, which we jointly helped design. It's been an Amazon bestseller, international bestseller in 4 countries: United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. And I'm very grateful for that. It did win several awards. You'd asked about that. So it won the Take Center Stage Authors Award from your organization, and greatly appreciate that. It also won the Who's Authors Award, also from AMAA, the Excellence in Publishing Award, Book Excellence Award, International Book Award from the IIAB, that's the International Impact Authors Book Awards Company, the Titan Book Awards for Fiction, American Fiction Award for Science Fiction, the 19th Annual Indie Excellence Award for Science Fiction, finalist, the American Book Fest Award finalist, and now it's up for Author of the Year. So the IIAB, the International Impact Book Awards, is hosting a conference at the Lowe's Hollywood Hotel in Hollywood, California. They're bringing in about 300 different authors who have all already passed the first gate, which is that they, in their category, had received the International Impact Book Awards. Nim Stant, who I know you know very well, a very prominent publisher and organizer, is hosting the event, and we're really excited about it. It's on Saturday, the 4th of October. Kay and I are going to go. We're going to get all dressed up, and we're going to hope for the best. But one of the things I would like to say is how much of an inspiration that you have been to me, and I'm sure to everyone that, like you said, always trying to make the world a better place. In 2018, I was serving in Iraq. I was actually already 60 years old. I was a diplomat, and I got kind of burned out, and I had to come home and get some treatment from the Veterans Administration, and wasn't able to work at the time. So what I wanted to do was two things. I wanted to write my novel, which I had been working on for a few years, and I also wanted to go back to law school. So I did both of those things. Just recently passed the California bar exam, and about ready to get sworn in. Maybe this weekend, if we can find a judge that will do it. And then also we wrote the books, and you've really helped that the publishing portion of it take off. So I guess that was a little bit longer of an answer than you asked for, but it was heartfelt. And I did want to give credit to you, Jessica Phillips, your lovely wife, Gwen, Crystal, who did all the editing and did so much of the making sure that the book got out there, the formatting, the internet webpage, a lot of the marketing, also translating a lot of stuff for me because I'm not an expert on how these things work. So dealing with Amazon, you guys have just been great, and you deserve all the credit. Thank you.
Well, we do appreciate that, sir, and it's just information. I say that a lot of times, but my goal is this newfound thing that now that's affordable to do, of sharing your story, your message. We have a new project coming up, and with Cynthia Rothrock, we're really excited about Write with Cynthia, the 4th compilation book in the Elite Martial Artists. But that's once you start on this journey, this is your 2nd book. We're looking at 3rd book, but you've also been in the compilation books too. And so all of these things come together, and someone says, why you write all these books? Number one, I draw a royalty check every month. That's number one. I'm retired. So to sit down and tell you about my life and write something that's meaningful, that will impact someone else's life. This morning, right now I'm working on goal setting, my 72nd birthday, and I'm going to 73. So, I'm going back to my own books and reading about what I said about goal setting back in, 2014. But you see, that information is there. So when we have good information, how do we pass it on? So as we're thinking about writing a book, it's, what is a fiction or nonfiction type of books. And so everyone always want to know, well, I don't know what I'm going to write on. So how did you come up with the idea and the story for your book? And I think this would be a good informative for people that want to know, well, what am I going to write about?
Well, thank you for that. The story has probably an unknown genesis, but one of the things that prompted me to write it was I wanted to write something that would resonate with the reader. It happens to be science fiction. It happens to be sort of a military background. There's a martial arts component to it. But what I wanted to do was put the characters into difficult situations where they have to make a decision under stress with imperfect information that will have consequences when they know there is no perfect decision. There is no decision that doesn't have negative consequences for them and for other people. And they have to balance my well-being, the well-being of the people that I'm responsible for, the accomplishment of the mission, which I've signed up to say I was do. I'm going to do something with that. And then what I wanted to do was to show what happens to those people after the consequences are now known, and how they incorporate that, How do they realize that there's been negative consequences? And what does it mean for them when they get back up and have to say, now I need to go back out and do this again? Because that's what everyone does, not just the people in the military, not just martial artists. Everyone that has a family, that has a job, that has people that they are responsible for, has to make those difficult decisions. And the example at the time when we were writing this first time was COVID, where people were making life and death decisions. Not a joke, life and death decisions. Am I going to risk my life to go out and work? Or am I going to go without because my children need food? What decisions am I going to take that's going to further that? And then what are the consequences for that? So let me give you one example. So in the first book, which was the Achilles Battle Fleet, Mei-Ling Lee has to open the door to a room, and there literally is a ticking time bomb. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's a ticking time bomb, and she has to get the door open or everyone dies, right? And so in order to do that under an emergency situation, she does things which were completely different than her nature and completely different from everything that she's been taught as a naval officer. You're not allowed to do certain things, but she does those things, right? And then when all the dust settles, all anybody ever wants to do is blame her, right? Because of what she did, not what she prevented, right? So she goes through this process of getting blamed, of being court-martialed, of facing arrests, of facing, a lot of different things. And the real issue for her isn't what happens to her. It's what does she think about herself? Is she a good person? Did she, and she has to admit that she likes some of the things she did. I mean, she's being fair. If we want to be fair with ourselves, sometimes, we don't mind what we have to do. And then what does that mean to her? That's kind of the gist of what I wanted to get done in all of these books. So in the second book, she's been demoted. She's been transferred to the Marine Corps. They've sent her out to the far reaches of the galaxy to round up human traffickers or something like that. And then all of a sudden, she's pulled back into this environment where she has to go after her former boss, who is also her uncle, who she greatly respects, because he's been accused of being a traitor and running a criminal organization. So she puts her team back together, and that's how the adventure starts. So she has to go through this time and time again, and it's a good story. I've had half a dozen people tell me they couldn't put the book down because it's one thing after the next. So just to put everybody on edge, the end of the story has a twist. It has a time travel component to it, and one of the main characters comes back to a world which is completely changed. And then the issue now is, what are you going to do about that? And that's what the third book kicks off with. And I've been really having a good time writing it. It's a lot of fun. It should be done. I suspect we can get it out by Christmas. You guys could always move fast, so it's on me to get it done. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And for me, and I wrote about this in one of our compendiums, is that writing has been my salvation, because some of the things I came out of Iraq with were heavy on my soul. And the writing helps with that. Thank you.
Well, that is totally amazing. And this is why we want everyone to know that, you are sitting on a gold mine of information that you just have to share it. And, there's no great secrets. And so someone may say, well, I'm not really a writer, but it's been on my bucket list. Okay, then you can do something easy, and that is to be in a compilation book or an anthology book where you just write a chapter, and that can get you started. And I've written now almost 50 books. And, so that's really represents about 50 things I was doing, because my books, which are nonfiction books, which are, sports development, mental performance, biography books, all those types of things. But those are 50 things that I did. I have a book out on goal setting. So, if I got to set goals for myself, and if I can become a good goal setter and achieve my goals, now if I can teach you how to be able to be a good goal setter and achieve your goals, then that's valuable. And just like we think about our imagination, scientists say that we have over 6,000 thoughts a day. that's going through our mind, and half of them are repetitive thinking. My question becomes, what are you thinking about? So some of those thoughts that you fantasize on or daydream on, grab pen and paper, build that character, and now now you can have something. You never know when that's going to be a Hollywood screenplay. And I know that your book, and you've done some film work before, and all that, but the book has so much, opportunity, but it will never get written if you don't take an action. So I think, really commendable for you. And I'm excited, getting a chance to go to Hollywood, California, getting a chance to partake. And probably, I would say, one of the most prestigious events for authors is the International Impact Award. We won the award several times with the Chuck Norris book and the Bill Superfoot Wallace book. But being able to get your book out there that people can see it. So how do you feel your life has changed? And since you've written your book, I know that you had these opportunities to travel to all of these places. Every place that we submitted your book, the book got approved. I know that you've been inducted in several Hall of Fames. I know you've got a lot of other stuff that's been happening since I've been knowing you. How has becoming an author, how's that impacted your life?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, I have to give credit to my wife, Kay, who you know very well. She's a real motivation and an inspiration to me. Kay's also decided, she had a very well-paying job. She was at the executive level for a major university. And after we got married over Christmas, I said, you're not really happy doing that. Why don't you just quit? And she did. She went in and she gave her notice and she said, I want to go to law school. So she went through that entire process too. And she's now in her last year of law school. And she just gets up and does it every day, which I'm sure, you do as well. And I try to take some inspiration from that. And I'll just give you an example. So one of the things I finished law school a few years ago, and then we took a break from studying for the bar so that we could write these books, right? And that was a decision to make, and it was the right one. But then after the second book got out and it had already, sort of launched and been an International Impact Award winner and an Amazon bestseller, I went back to study for the bar. So when I took the bar, the California bar this last time in February allowed people to take it from their homes. So for me, it was spread out over 4 days, about 6 hours a day. And I had a little room set aside for it. And Kay was in law school. So when I would come out for, a lunch break or something like that, she wouldn't be there, but she left me a little whiteboard. And on the whiteboard, she had taken Theodore Roosevelt's In the Arena speech and written it out by hand. And then she drew a little picture of him, which I thought was really cute. But to me, that's what we do. You're in the arena every day, right? You're covered in blood and sweat and dirt, right? And as Roosevelt said, you fail, and you fail often. That's what winners do. They get in and swing away, and they get back up when they get knocked down. They don't listen to the critic because the critic isn't in the arena. You're in the arena, and you're in there doing it, and you'll have your setbacks, and you aren't discouraged by them. So you talked about setting goals. I think that's a very important thing, but I think it's also important that once you engage into something, that you stick with it, even when times get tough, even when you're told no, even when you're told you're not doing very well at this. I think everybody that goes to law school feels like that at some point. I remember I had taken a long break from my first year in law school because I was doing military stuff. And when I went to go back to law school, my first grade was a 20 out of 100%. So, and I think some people just said, all right, it's enough. I'm not going to be good at this. And I picked up and I finished law school. I passed the bar on the first time. I just recently took the the multi-state professional responsibility exam, which every lawyer in the country has to take. And I was fortunate enough to have scored the highest score in the nation on that exam. So sometimes you can come back from a 20 and do better. And I think that's the inspiration that I get from people like you, from Kay, and also from a lifetime of looking back on stuff. You know, I went to the Army Ranger School when people would say, "You'll never make it through. Don't do it." And when I walked in to sign in, there was another lieutenant who was just sitting on the bench, and he had already been through part of it and then put back. And he started shouting at me and another colleague that I was with, saying, "Don't do it. Don't sign in. You don't know what you're getting into. Stop." And I was just like, I'm not listening to that, right? And then when I went to sign in, so that was just to sign in administratively. When I went to actually enter the course, we take all your rank off. You've shaved your head. You know, you're not a lieutenant anymore, right? So they're not going to give you any deference. And I went to sign in, and I had what was called standby orders. And military people understand this. Standby orders aren't real orders. They're just, they allow the organization, the gaining organization, to take you or not, right? So I went in there, and there was a old sergeant in there. He was probably 30, but he seemed old at the time, and older than me. I was 23, and he said, what's this? This is nothing. Get out of here. And I said, I'm not leaving. And he said, what did you say? I said, I'm not leaving. I will leave this school in a body bag with a Ranger tab. You want me to leave? Call the MPs. They better have their weapons drawn. I'm not going. And he went, how many we got? 13, first sergeant, send him on through. So then I sent him on through, and then I accidentally knocked off his giant stack of in-processing paper all over the floor. So I did about 100 push-ups before I got through the door. And I guess my lesson there again is don't quit for something you want to do, right? And sometimes you'll have your failures. We all do. All good people can look back and say, yeah, that one didn't work. But I got up and continued to do it. So anyway, that's a long answer to a short question. Thank you for your patience.
Well, that's what makes you a good writer, because you're a good communicator. And as I was saying, that for writing your book, and everyone, you can go to Amazon, pick up his book. Hold it back up again, sir, so they can see it.
Yep, here we go.
Your book, there you go. And so you can go to Amazon and pick it up. And the Warrior Goddess book 2, and you can again go to Amazon, get it. It's available in their Kindle books also in there, and it's available. And you can go to his website, beautiful website. You can go there, and that's BrendanWilsonWrites.com, and see his journey and see all the different things that he's been doing as an author to support his book. And that's another thing that we really need to touch on, is that now you've written a book, now you really have to nurture that book. It's not, and I that's where I say to individuals who are writing their books, okay, we have to have a plan when we go in, and what is your objective? So if someone writes a book, that's one of the things that we really want to know. What is your objective? Because if you're going in and you don't have any objectives, and your only objective is to launch the book, then that's going to be short-lived. Like I said, we produced our 2024 book, Elite Martial Artist, is #1 in gift ideas for young adults, martial artists. So, the more things you do, the more things you can get done. And so now your book is in the top 10. And how do you get to the top 10 or the top 100? The top 100, if you have a top 100 books, then you're considered a best-selling author. Everybody wants to be in that number one position. Number 1 versus 256,000. That's a long way down. But if you're in that top 100, that means someone is paying attention to your book. That means that some sales are happening. A lot of people are going to it, and you want to get the reviews and all of that, all of those things from your book. But I, really do want to say that the things you've been doing, nurturing your book, getting it, entered in these different book author contests, events, and now having a chance to go to Hollywood, California this weekend and to showcase your book and meet other elite authors. When you hang around the best, the natural thing is that you will become one of the best. So really want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, keep sharing the information. Well, again, we thank you for all the support that you've been giving to Elite Publications. And everyone, if you are thinking about writing a book, then you can contact Elite Publications. We'll sit down with you and go over the things you shouldn't do, because you really need to have those things, because you can lose the rights to your book very quickly, or you don't draw any revenue from your book. So, we're your easy button to get started. We welcome you. We have a new martial arts anthology book coming out. We welcome you to go to our website, and that website is Elite Publications. And you can go there, and again, it's coming across the screen. That's www.elitepublications.org. Schedule time, join with me. I mean, when you're having fun and you're having success, and your book is creating revenue, it's touching lives, you're getting involved in all these things, so it continues to help you grow. I know for a lot of our friends, since Grandmaster Wilson is a martial artist, I'm a martial artist, so we're in the martial arts community, and we're really trying to support the community of sharing your stories. Now, this new book we're doing talks about the secrets to life, the secrets to leadership, the secrets to business, and we're writing it with Cynthia Rothrock and Art Camacho, who is a film producer. So we have all these great people, and when you hang around greatness, it's always presumed that you are a part of that. So when you're now with Cynthia and Art Camacho, Eric Lee, and all these other people, then that is that a good network. When you say that you've written a book with Cynthia Rothrock, that really turns heads. And when you go back to your martial arts schools or building yourself in your community, that is a very powerful move. So remember, just like Grandmaster Wilson is going to Hollywood, California this weekend, and we're going to be crossing our fingers for him that he becomes the author of the year. He's already won the International Impact Award for his book. But that could be you. That could be you, doing something that's not normal, going out and creating something that blesses someone else. And that's what you can do as a published author. So any last words, sir?
Well, yeah, first of all, you mentioned Cynthia Rothrock, and I didn't want to leave without thanking the assistance that she's given me on this book. She wrote the foreword to Warrior Goddess. And if I could just read something that she wrote, which is really meaningful to me. She wrote, "The adventures of Captain Mei-Ling Lee will ring true for any woman who has had to fight for her place in life or her chosen profession." And I thought that was really meaningful for me because, here she is, probably the most prominent female martial artist, movie star with over 90 movies. I watched her new movie. That was fantastic. Also, I'd like to thank Bill Superfoot Wallace, who was kind enough to write something for the back of the book. And he wrote, "Mei-Ling's story captures that moment where a fighter must choose to keep going or surrender. I recommend this novel. You'll come for the adventure, but you'll leave with something to think about." So, and both of those people you introduced me to and made that a possibility, and they're both incredible inspirations to me. I'm looking forward to participating in this new publication with Cynthia, and I do have some ideas about this, the correlation between military training and other challenges that we face in life. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I just wanted to thank you and all your team for everything.
Well, sir, you're definitely welcome. At Elite Publications, we believe everyone has a story. Back going to 2013, we decided to make a decision to do something good. And that was to honor my teacher for all of his years in the martial arts and bringing some of those past people together. And we wrote a book called Who's Who in the Martial Arts. Now, here we are now at book number 12, an international publishing company. We are traveling the world and doing things because we made the decision to publish a book. And you too, for our listeners, one book can change your life. Now, the time you have published 3, you have now established yourself as a brand. But again, learning how to do that, be more than happy to share how to start turning your stories into revenue. And revenue comes from readers. So how to get people reading your book, we can help you. All right, everyone. And Grandmaster, I want much luck this weekend. I'm not going to say luck, go get them because you have a beautiful book. So delight to read. And, that's why you're in that top group of authors that's in Hollywood, California this weekend. So be blessed. And like I said, hey, let me know next week when you guys, in fact, don't even wait then. So regardless of the what the outcomes are, shoot me a text. Let me know how you and Kay are doing.
All right, will do. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, be blessed, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.